our mission is rescuing men, restoring families, and rebuilding community, right? And it's so, when I look at that, everything about it, so I've been rescued, my family's been restored, and now I'm giving back to the community.
Welcome to the Getting Better podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening wherever you are, whatever you're doing. We are just trying to get better. We want to get better in everything we do. We all desire to get better.
Good teams keep getting better. Keep getting better.
Just like Josh Heupel, good teams, good people, good organizations, good podcast people, just good people in general. We keep getting better. That's what we want to do. And one of my favorite things about getting better is who I'm getting better with, and that's my friend Gage. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I'm so excited. We've already been getting better together, but I'm so excited for today because today we have an awesome guest who I really think is going to help us get better. He's the operations director at Springs of Life Recovery Center, but more than that, he is somebody I admire, I look up to, and I'm just glad to call him my friend, Justin Hester. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, man? Thank you. So much flattery.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate it.
I save it for the camera. Save it for the camera.
There you go.
No, we're excited. We appreciate you being here. I think you got a lot of things, a lot of perspectives that's really going to help us today.
Sure.
What do you think, Gunner?
Yeah, and absolutely. And we had a conversation having you on, and I think we talked about it. I think it's going to be fantastic. But one thing I do want to say is the first time I met you, and the first time I really hung out with you, I knew you before, but we went up to, my dad called me, and he was going to jail. I could have go to Pizza Spot for something. I don't even know what was on that itinerary.
Sounds very on par with your dad.
Yeah, I don't know what was on the itinerary, but at least Pizza Spot was.
That is the itinerary.
Yeah, for your dad, that is. Yeah.
That's it. Spot on.
But so we went there. I think it was us. I think Chris Honeycutt was with us, and then Steve was with us as well. And I had a blast. Like, to be honest, like, I wasn't married at the time, but so me and Spencer were living together, and my brother, and he asked me to go. I kind of just want to, have one of them laziness. I don't want to do anything, but like each time something like this happens, you hang out with good people. It's like, man, that was so much better than staying at home. It's like, I was so thankful. And then we had a great time. Y'all were a ton of fun, including Steve. Steve was off the chain that night. I don't know if he just got out of the house for the first time in a while or something. But
It probably was. Yeah.
he was wild. But so thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I remember that day. Just so you know, it's hard for everybody to get out. It was hard when you get invited to with people you don't really know. You're just kind of reserved, especially from the background that I've in the moment that I met you. In recovery, like you just kind of want to fade out and not really meet the new people because you're just like, you're exhausted as it is. But I do remember that, and we had a blast. Absolutely.
And that's just we kind of touched on this before we started recording, but like community, man, it's good. And you can never meet too many good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And few are better than Justin Hester.
Yeah.
And so
I'm the man, just so you know.
Justin, I know, of course, a little bit about you, and you just got a powerful testimony, and it's awesome to see what God does in your life. And I'm just glad to even just to see it on the outside, and sometimes I get to see it on the inside too with you. But I'm just glad to get to see it from the outside. So if you don't care, can you just tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are right now?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I would start with. I wouldn't start with most people that struggle with addiction start when they're younger. Some have used at 9, real young ages. I've only experimented high school drug, marijuana.
Right.
I was never a heavy user. I would say I would start my story out in 2004, getting to go to Tennessee Training Law Enforcement Training Academy, Toledo, in Nashville, Donaldson Police Academy. I wanted to become a cop. I had been a corrections officer for so many years and fell in love with that work. Once I was certified as an officer, it was just really good to give back in the community, you really could see that you're making a difference in lives. Now, that's not every day. You had your days that were really struggle because you dealt with the same people over and over, and you got really fed up with it. So you're just like, oh, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But then you also see the hard challenges of children losing their lives, crash, scenes that people are past, and you have to break that news to their families. So it's a very difficult line of work, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. So I was a police officer for a total of 10 years. Was really, in my mind, I was really good at what I did. I really felt like that was my calling. My calling was to take drugs off the street, to make my community better, and just be the best officer that I made a name for myself. Is when I rolled up to the scene, somebody is going to go to jail. Somebody. So I had a good career. One day I was actually about to go to work. I had a Rottweiler at the time and was going to go feed him before I went to work, and fell off my porch. I had some slides on. It was raining, so I fell off, broke my back. And my dad was actually there at the house with me. And I crawled in the house. I had mud all over me. I crawled in the house, and I was like, oh, man, oh. I couldn't breathe. And he's like, what? Get up. And I'm like, dude, I'm hurting. And he's like, what'd you do? And I told him I fell off the porch, and he just kind of laughed at me. And I was like, it's not funny. Like, I'm really hurting here. So he lifts the shirt, my back of my shirt, and my back is solid black. So he's like, oh, man, we got to get you to the doctor. So I end up breaking my L1 and L2 on my back. So I was out for a little while. Didn't have to have surgery, thank goodness. But during that time, I became addicted to opioids. It was probably one of the worst things trying to come off of. When you're addicted to that, it's really challenging. You don't think that could happen to you. You don't think that you become addicted. You think you can just drop it, but it gets a hold of you so quickly. Your body just needs it. So, fast forward maybe a year or two, and I was so addicted that I started stopping people. They had the pill mills back in the day. People from Kentucky would go to Florida and pick up a lot of pills and bring back and sell. So I would target those on the interstate, and that's how I would get my fix. I'd pull people over, and it would be legit stops, but it doesn't make it any better. But I would pull them over, and I would go up to the car and introduce myself, and I knew what they were doing. I knew that they were going to pill mills and coming back with, so I knew like I could take probably 2 or 3 and put them in my pocket, and nobody would ever know. Well, the 2 or 3 got to be 10, 15. 10, 15 got to be 20 or 30. 20 or 30 got to be, I'm taking your whole script. So I end up doing that maybe to the wrong or right guy, maybe, I would say now. He ended up complaining on me. And the complaint that he filed ended up leading up to a TBI investigation. I ended up getting arrested for official oppression. It's a color conduct of color law, or whatever you want to call it, basically saying that I abused my authority. So I get charged with that. Have to, my career's over with. I'm plastered all over the news. I go into a very deep depression. I can remember my dad called, and he said, "Hey, listen, what's done is done. You can't stop. You got to move forward. Like, don't let this stop you. You got to keep moving forward." I wish I could have took that advice. The depression hit so hard that I couldn't come out of it. The depression sunk me into a deeper drug addiction. So I got convicted. I'm a convicted felon now. Been a convicted felon, will always be a convicted felon. And then I just started experimenting. When the pills, I couldn't get a hold of pills, I started experimenting with methamphetamine. Methamphetamine led me to a even darker road. I ended up losing my home, my car, being homeless basically for quite a while. And I end up, I'm a curious person. So the high wasn't good enough for me. So I wanted to try injection with methamphetamine. Well, I fell in love with it. That's all I could. That's the only way I could go. So I started shooting methamphetamine up. I started probably in 2012, maybe 2013, and then did that for a couple years actually. The worst thing ever. Being around drug addicts, they always tell you, you don't want to go down that road. Once you hit that road, it's a never ending road. Once I hit that road, I understood. It's like, I don't want to go back. Like, there's no other high other than this. So, I lost everything, became homeless. I had a little girl in 2015, Aaliyah. And during that time, me and her mother had split. And I was an absent father. Deep down, I really wanted to be a dad. I just didn't know how to be a father. I didn't know how to be clean. I didn't know if I can even function in day-to-day life without getting high or anything like that. I didn't think I could wake up. If I didn't have drugs to wake up to, I had no purpose. I had no life. The entire time, your mind process is just, the thought process is just like, what am I going to do now? How am I going to get my next high? Instantly, when you do the drug, you're automatically fixated on the next high. So it was a struggle. So I did that for years and become homeless, living on the streets. Tried to get clean a couple times. That didn't work. My dad tried to help me out. That didn't work. We kind of had a falling out from time to time. And I just lost all communication with him, which was probably a best at that time. Living with my grandmother from, when I could. And then I remember going to work at Taco Bell. I maybe had worked 2 days. And man, I was just like so fed up. And I remember going to work and I was high and thought somebody was chasing me, right? So I'm going and I go to work and I look back and I'm like, okay, all right. You want to follow me? Like, I'm done. Like literally nobody's there. So I go into work. I literally walk into Taco Bell and I look around and I'm like, I'm done. I got to get out of here. So I call Ray Perry with a Pinnacle Homeless Shelter. I'd been there twice, 2 times before here there in Scott County. Squandered those, absolutely squandered those. Always went back, thought I could go back and get a little high and never fall off the wagon or just fall off anyway. But I did. So the third time I called him, I said, hey, listen, I don't know what to do. I can't do this anymore. And he called me Stacks because I had this shirt with pancake stacks. So he called me Stacks. He's like, Stacks, man, we've been worried about you, wondering where you been. And I was like, listen, I'll do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. So he brought me back. He said, this is your last time. You're not getting another shot. So I come back, and then the next thing I know, the RA with a homeless shelter is saying, hey, you're going to Springs of Life. It's a recovery program. Ray said it's non-negotiable. And I'm like, sure, I'm down. Like, let's go. Let's go today. He's like, well, you won't be able to get into it for another month. That month was very challenging for me. That month was very challenging. I wanted to leave. The guy that was the RA actually he was an alcoholic. He would get drunk after hours. Me and him got into an argument. It almost we almost got into a fight. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you have this last shot. You can't screw this up. You can't. Like, he's already said this is it. So I told the guy, I said, listen, like, I'm a drug addict. You're an alcoholic. I get it. Just get me there. Get me out of here because I want this shot. So I get to Springs of Life finally literally the next day and talk to Cliff, intimidated. Cliff is coming in. He's like, hey, I heard your story. I heard you used to be a cop. You have a great story. But I think, if you could let God finish your story, it'd be great. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I'm like, whatever. Like, my intentions going to Springs of Life is just being sober, being a father to Aaliyah, and having a job. That's the extent to it. I didn't want Jesus. Didn't want him. Knew all about him. My mother had taught me about Jesus at a young age, but didn't want anything to do with him. So probably a month goes by, and I'm at Springs of Life, and we go to a place called the Calling for Men in Nashville. It's a retreat for men. Priest Lake hosts that retreat. I go there, and we're nailing things to the cross. And I'm like, man, what can I nail? Like, am I going to nail cussing? Am I going to nail drugs? Like, what is it? And then, not an audible voice, but it was simply said to me, I want you. And I was like, huh, okay. And I got really emotional, and I was like, all right. So I took the paper out and took the pen, and I said, I give you me. And I nailed it to the cross, and I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit run all over me. And when I tell you that I've never felt more empowered in my entire life than I did in that moment. In that moment, a flood of emotions hit me. I was, I guess it would be a Pentecostal kind of feeling. I mean, literally, I was crying. I felt every emotion except for anger, bitterness, and resentment. I was happy. I felt free. I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders in that moment. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like, thank you. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't have expectations. I didn't want to, I definitely didn't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. And when I nailed that stuff, I told everybody, Jesus saved me. Jesus saved my heart. Like he is my Lord now. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it looked like. Little did I know it's going to be challenging, right? But yeah, that happened in 2019. 2019. The same time I come into Springs, like I said, a month away when I got there. And then from that moment, I've been sober ever since, been living for the Lord. And Jesus says that I come to give you life and more abundantly. Buddy, when I tell you he's given me abundant life and continues that, I'm beyond blessed. Beyond blessed. So it's been a struggle. It's not been easy. I look at my past. I used to question God, why? How did I get here? As a drug addict, like how did this happen? Like you were really somebody. Now you're nobody. Your family don't want anything to do with you. How can you get to this point? And now I look at it as like, thank you, Jesus, for bringing me through what you brought me. You brought me through the fire to refine me. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, it's just a little bit of it.
No, man, that's beautiful. I mean, gosh, there's so much that we could unpack there, and I don't want to get into too much just because I don't want to, we want to keep it moving, I guess. But like the fact that he wants you, I guess a question, the feeling of that he wanted you even in the state you were in, did that impact you in a way, or was it just the fact of you having to give yourself over? Because like it's people like can be like, of course, yeah, I get it. He wants me. It's like, no, but he wants your baggage and everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask for a cleaned up version of you. He wants you.
That never really struck me. 'Cause in the moment, it was very clear to me.
Yeah.
I want you. All you have to do is I give you me and you're mine.
Yeah.
It didn't really come with anything extra. In that moment, I knew, like when I nailed it to the cross and I got up, I just, thank you, Jesus. Like there was not a care in the world after that. I couldn't wait to tell everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, oh man, like you got it. I was like, hey, Rich, hey, man, Jesus saved me. And then after that, just right after that, they have another little station that you go down. It's at night and it's around a fire. And a lot of people get creeped out by this, but I was putting my mind in where Jesus was. They do foot washing. So we have we're sitting around a fire, and in the background you hear bagpipes, and I'm a sucker for bagpipes. I love them, right? And the bagpipes are playing Amazing Grace.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh wow, Holy Spirit, like you are moving. And everybody that, some people that were there were like, I don't want to get my feet washed. And I'm like, I'm trying to put my mindset in the frame of this is what Jesus done.
Whatever God wants from me, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm open to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that also was another just Holy Spirit moment for me, because I was like, Jesus washed feet. They washed his feet. I'm getting my feet washed just like Jesus. It was awesome, amazing. So, man, it's just been awesome. The past July will be 6 years.
That's awesome.
6 years.
Congrats, dude.
Yeah, for real,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome.
I couldn't be happier.
I mean, that's awesome.
Being on this side of that, being on this side of the story, first off, I'm happy for her. I mean, I wish I would have known that full story sooner. I guess right now is a good time to know it.
Yeah.
As far as the podcast goes, but like it's worth celebrating, dude. I'm so happy for you. And but being on this side of all that, and now you're working at Springs of Life
Sure.
and helping people get through the processes of addiction and things like that. And has your perspective grown, or how does your perspective being a former addict help with that? As far as dealing with the addiction and working with it directly as you do, how does your past help in that?
So I have several levels of that. As a police officer, I would look at an addicted person and be like, stop doing drugs. It's simple.
And that's most people.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they don't understand it.
Right.
And that's one thing I want to help with this whole podcast is because if people they might know someone who has a family who is addicted, or they might not understand because they haven't been in that spot. Like, help us understand like how we can love people well and navigate things with them, because as people, we love our family, but how do we see people better?
Yeah. So again, in that moment, you tell people, man, just stop doing drugs. It's easy. It's not easy. Becoming a drug addict, I look back on my career as an officer and when I was doing good, and I was like, man, I wish that I wouldn't have been hard on that person or this person, and extended them some help. Instead of saying, put them in jail, I don't want to deal with it. I wish that I would have extended services of any kind of recovery for those that were addicted, that was just, I guess you would say, ignorant to. I wish I could have that back and help those people, but, you can't go back, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the good thing about what I do now is the mindset for I can help our men with legal problems because I've been on that side of the law.
Yeah.
Then that doesn't mean I can get them out of anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I can help navigate and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what you might look at. People with judicial diversions. I had a judicial diversion. What that meant for me was, like, if you do all the criteria that we set out before you, your record is expunged. I lost that. I lost that because I wanted to do me. I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Right.
So people that come through the program that have that, I can say, hey, listen, this is serious. Like, you don't want to lose that. I promise you. I've lost that. Don't do that. But I can help with, legal, as far as what they might do to you, or what it would look like if you did everything correct by the judge. I can help you through the Springs of Life program, because I did 9 months of Springs of Life. I've never left since 2019. So there's not an avenue of Springs of Life that I can't help you with. And then now I would say the addiction part, help navigating the addicting mind. When people come in, and that they're going to come in and they're not going to be put together. Their minds starting to heal. It's going to take so much time for that mind to heal. So helping them navigate their emotions is very important. And it's hard because I can say, hey, listen, I wanted to leave several times. I get it. But you guys got to stick it out. And some do, some don't, you know. But just being an addict, I can help those because I've been in the trenches.
Right.
I've been in a slum house with a needle sticking out of my arm, you know, with just chaos around. I get it. I can be familiar with that.
And you know, people, it's hard to understand, really, unless you have somebody close to you or if you've been an addict yourself. And of course, I haven't been an addict, but I mean, I have somebody really close to me that, you know, has been an addict my whole life. And so, man, it's such a roller coaster, Justin. I mean, it's such a, you know, sometimes this person's doing really good, and then, you know, a month or two later, they're back to where they were. And then you think, okay, that's the bottom. And they go up, and then they go even farther than that bottom. And so I know you experienced that yourself, but you see it in your work every day, right? How do you navigate the ups and the downs, man? I mean, that's hard. I'm trying to think of how I can navigate this person in my life. I really can't. It's hard.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
That's a good question.
I want to tag on to that. How do you not lose hope on people?
Yeah, that's good.
It's hard. You don't put your hope in people.
Yeah.
You put your hope in Jesus. It's his work. I have the hope that Jesus will do the exact same thing in every man that walks through that door that he's done to me. There's times that I tell the guys, like, you don't have to walk through the door with intentions of, I need God, I need Jesus. Like, he's brought you here. So the seed's planted, and I don't know when he'll make you grow, but I have faith he will. So the hope that I have stays and lies within Jesus. Now, that doesn't mean it's not hard when you see guys that you get close to leave for because they know better than you, or they feel like they've got it beat, or it happens over a female. They get a female wrapped in their mind that they can't let go, and they have to go back. That's the number one thing. Men leave for females more often than not. So you just hope that Jesus is doing his work, and you just put your faith in that.
Something I've been, of course, indirectly around Springs Life for a long time now, and I've known you for a while now, but I've known Springs Life as a whole. When somebody goes through the program, maybe they leave or maybe they struggle, they let them come back. They struggle, they let them come back. So the consistency that Springs of Life and yourself have with those men, man, it's awesome. I could think of one guy in particular, drove to where he was at and brought him back down to Springs of Life.
If that's the same guy, we've had him like 7 times.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's so awesome. But through that consistency, I mean, that's tough.
Well, you do develop connections with people, and you do genuinely love people, right? I think sometimes your heart can get hard. I don't have all my seasons of life over there has not always been like, oh man, like yeah, we got to go save this guy. Like I'm just like, come on, man, like get with it. Like God's given you an opportunity, grasp a hold of it, grab it. But yeah, you develop friendships, relationships, and then you see the vulnerability. You see God at work in most, and you cling on to that, right? And you say, well, I know God's doing a work in that guy. I see it. It's evident. But he just keeps making the wrong decisions. He keeps making, because, we obviously, God give us a mind. We have free will. We have free will to leave. And I'm just like, we say, God's doing a work. It's obvious. It's all over the place. But he just can't let go of his past. And he keeps going back to the old ways. And it's hard.
Can you tell? Is there times that your heart has been hardened? I mean, I know people, myself, man, with this person in my life. How can you think of times where your heart gets hardened like that?
Oh, absolutely.
It's tough.
It's tough. But then the good thing about it is when you do voice that, you have other people that can say, "Hey, listen, maybe you're being too hard," or like, they can highlight the points that God has been at work in that life, and then it kind of like, okay, maybe I'm being too hard. But there's been people, man, that just deny God in total, and all you can do is pray for that. Pray for them and that struggle that they have. But absolutely, yeah, it's been difficult. There's seasons of hardness, but it's good to have people around you that love Jesus and can continue to point you and your thoughts to Jesus, and because Jesus had compassion, right? So
Absolutely.
try to have compassion as well.
He says he's full of grace and truth, not one or the other, but both. And
He is the truth.
Yeah, he
right?
is the truth. And so if I'm working with people, I don't want to just point fingers and say, "Hey, get better. Hey, do that."
Yeah.
Do that. But I want to offer grace and actually help them get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you're doing in your line of work. And I think you're uniquely gifted, called to be where you're at and make a difference there, man. It's a really neat thing.
Yeah.
And as far as maybe even you overcoming your addiction, what role does community play in that?
So in our in Springs of Life, right? So after I graduated, I moved to the transitional home. Cliff, our director, actually, I would say blood, sweat, and tears with me, right? He's always pointed me to Jesus. It's been everything. He's, when it comes, I would meet with him from time to time, and I remember a lot. He would say, "Jay, listen, don't just settle for any woman, because God has something special for you." And I was like, okay, all right, cool. Like, he would say that for years, right? He wasn't wrong. The guy literally nailed it on the head. Like, God literally had somebody special for me. Having that community of believers who will continue to point you to Jesus and not just settle for, something good, but settle for something that he is, that is great. That's where it's at. Communities, it's a big deal. We had a community. I had a community. It was chaotic, but we had a community. You're going to find yourself in community either way. But community is a big piece of sobriety. Absolutely.
It's something I've got to see at Springs of Life is how, with the groups, and just how connected the guys really are. And so I've, in the past little bit, I've not been as involved, but there's some times I can really think of some guys that were really, really connected. So it's great inside there. I'm assuming it's probably pretty important for outside there, right?
Yeah. I tell you what, it's really hard. I think we keep up with our past residents as well as you can. That doesn't mean we make it perfect, right? But we at least try to check on so many of them. But we always say, hey, listen, we have this amount, all these guys that we can't reach out to everybody. Like, it's just not possible. Don't hesitate to call us, right? And we've had those. We've got a guy now that he didn't finish the program. He left probably within 2 months before graduating. He's doing phenomenal. He moved to Williamsburg, and he's trying to stay closer to us. He come by to visit the other day. Like, he's always plugged in, always calling, always checking in. So, and I think that when he has difficult times, he's called me. Hey, man, this is going on. What do you think? And I'm like, hey, buddy, don't do that. Don't do that. And he's like, that's why I knew you was going to say that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm glad you called.
That's
right?
what community does.
Yeah, absolutely.
It says, hey, that's okay. Hey, I love you enough to let you know that's probably not a good idea.
If you find people that can tell you the truth in love, right? Mm-hmm. Don't beat you over the head. Like, that's where it's at. We need people that can tell you hard things out of love. And I have that. I absolutely have that. And there's times that I've heard some hard things, and they've not been easy to choke down. But I knew that person loved me, and they loved Christ, and I stood on that.
Yeah, so I've been talking about this with somebody recently. Someone had the relationship with you to be able to speak into your life. And sometimes people try to speak into people's lives and they don't have the relational equity, is what I call it.
Sure.
And so you said someone knew me and they were close to me and they could say that hard thing because I knew them, I trusted them. Yeah. And so I think it starts with that community. And
here's the key for me. I'll say this for me, right? When you have somebody and you spend time with them and you see their relationship with Christ and you know it is built on a solid foundation, it's so much easier for me to accept those hard things from that person. Now, would I accept hard things from somebody who's not got their foundation built on Christ? Probably not. But seeing their relationship with Christ and seeing how in love they are with Christ, absolutely. It doesn't make it. It makes it easier, but they're still hard.
Yeah. It's kind of like you know them by their fruits, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
for me, and we touched on it a little bit, but like I want to be helpful for others. I want to be able to navigate, maybe friends who have family members or maybe somebody who's dealing with addiction. Like what are ways that I can help people who may have family members going through that kind of process? Like, how can I be a good friend through that? How can I be encouraging? What are some things I can do to help people get better at helping people deal with that?
Yeah, I would say prayer would be key.
Yeah,
praying for those people, checking in with the family member that has the family member that's addicted. Say, just checking in, say, hey, how's things going? Just showing that you care, actually. Okay. But you got to be genuine in that. You can't just make this fabrication of like, oh, yeah, I care. They're gonna know. But also, like, if they reach out to you, like, if you know us, and they got that, say, hey, man, I know a guy. I don't know what that looks like, but I can give you his number.
Yeah.
It's just being there for people. It's a difficult situation all around. My parents or my dad, my whole family, when I would be around, wasn't that they treated me different, but I felt different because I was in a different headspace. But they also give me tough love, to where they said, if you're going to be here, you can't be doing that stuff. Like, either get with it or get out. My dad kicked me out a couple times. And now, honestly, my dad, my father, and my relationship are just like that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And he's shown me tough love. But we've always we've made amends. He's seen my life work out the way it is, and I think just being there for people, being genuine. It would depend on the situation as well.
Yeah, and I want to say that because I don't want to put every addiction in the same box or every person in the same box, but kind of for you. Because I hear stories of people getting kicked out of the house or getting kicked out of their homes or by maybe a significant other or a father or a mother. Do you think in the grand scheme of things that was good for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So oftentimes family members will enable and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Well, like my grandmother, she was an enabler to me and my uncle.
And not trying to.
She didn't know.
Love,
she just saying, well, I'm not going to, she'd call me her baby. I'm not going to turn my baby away. If he's hungry, I'm going to feed him. Well, my dad's like, I wouldn't. I'd kick him to the curb. You know what I mean? Like, get him out. So I think family, people that have family who struggle with addiction need to be educated on how to help. That's probably key because they don't know how to help. They can be too overly sensitive or just not sensitive at all. So
let me ask you this. Would you say there are times if you have a family member that's an addict that you have to, obviously you keep praying, but do you have to keep them almost at a distance per se, so you're not enabling, or so they're not taking advantage or things like that, or?
Probably.
Yeah. I'm asking this for my personal.
So, my dad would always tell me, "I'm here. I love you. I hope you know that, but I don't support what you're doing. Like I can't. You just can't be around. Like when you get your life together and you straighten up, then you can come around. But right now, it's not happening. I think you keep them at a distance. You don't push them out totally, but you just keep them at arm's length, and you just be honest. Hey, listen, like this is not a healthy relationship. Like what you're doing, you're basically killing yourself. Yeah. I don't want to watch you kill yourself. I can't. It hurts me to see you do that. So you just have to be tough and keep them at a distance, and that's easier said than done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you are like such an awesome success story, Justin, and it's just awesome to see how God really saved you. I mean, he changed your life, and so it's beautiful to see. Can you share another success story? I mean, I know you see this stuff every day, and I know you have probably a few success stories, but if you don't care to share one.
Talking about personal
or just from your line of work, maybe.
From line of work.
From somebody maybe could come through the center that you're like, wow, their life has changed.
Yeah. There's quite a few.
Which I know it's hard because
I can give you my neighbor, right? Just lived 2 houses down. Didn't have he was actually going through an issue with his child. Didn't have custody of his child. A family member had custody, and went through the program, graduated, got a job, ended up moving to Jellicoe because he didn't want to go back to the same place, and it's done phenomenal. He has his child back in his life. He has a full-time job. He's a neighbor. He's my neighbor. Got a beautiful home. He just had another baby with his other child's mother. They live together. So that would. He's a success story.
Restoring families.
Yeah, it's our mission is rescuing men, restoring families, and rebuilding community, right? And it's so when I look at that, everything about it. So I've been rescued, my family's been restored, and now I'm giving back to the community.
I love it. Dude.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wanda down here, thank you, first of all. Your story, I know it's your story and you're comfortable to share it now because of where you're at now, but just the openness and the vulnerability of it, I think it's beautiful, and I think it's going to help people.
Yeah.
And give people hope. Let know that God still changes life. God's still in the miracle working business, and if he changed your life, he can change others.
Absolutely.
But closing out this podcast, we ask everybody, what's one area in your life that you're currently trying to get better or grow in? Because we all want to get better.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Drop it on you.
Oh, man. Yeah. It would easily be being a father to my daughter, Aaliyah, and being a good husband, because I just got married in March. So I'm trying to figure out how to be a good husband still. Yeah. So,
well, me too.
Us too, man. So we'll just all pray for that together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
A good little prayer chain.
No, I think that's, you hear talk about ministry stuff. Your ministry first is to your family.
Right.
And so that's a great thing and it's always, I think it was a comedian said women are always a moving target. No, but there's always more to grow as relationships grow and you grow as individuals. And speaking for myself, I've enjoyed the process of growing with somebody and learning more. It doesn't mean it's always easy or we're always on the same page at all. But the more you invest in it, the better it is.
But how good is it when you have a significant other that loves Jesus with their entire being, and that when you have your bad days, they can point you at the cross?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Being on the same page, having the
Absolutely.
same spiritual the worldview of Jesus. I mean, you got to have it. It's
Absolutely.
another part of community.
Absolutely.
But Justin, thank you. I had no expectations heading into this, but it blew me out of the water. So
Thank you guys for having me.
honestly, thank you, because you're helping me understand things better.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it.
And just sharing your story in general, man, it's so encouraging. I mean, of course, I think the world of you. I've known you for a while now, and I don't know. Every time I hear something about you or see that you're in something, man, I want to see it too, because I know who you are. And I just love you.
Yeah, I love you guys too.
I just love
Hey,
you.
let's just get together at the pizza spot again. Huh?
Let's just do it. Let's do it.
A reunion. Well, thank you again, Gage. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's listening. I hope this has helped you like it's helped me grow and get better. I think, I don't know, it's an awesome conversation. So wherever you are, wherever you're listening, hit the like, subscribe, do all that stuff. But share it with somebody, because the story can help change someone else's life. We believe it. And until next time, keep on getting better.